Hello and welcome to Freedom Through Astrology, where we're giving you the keys. It's freedomthroughastrology.com. I'm the astrologer, Donald Patak. Here's my contact information, standard YouTube copyright. And just to see what the keys for the reading are and how you can best understand this reading, first of all, I practice what's called constellational, also known as sidereal astrology. It's astrology by the visible sky. It's not what I'm going to call true sidereal because that can relate to Vedic astrology, which uses a square birth chart, and I'm using the traditional Western, so constellational, and it's astrology by the visible sky. You're going to notice some of the things that I say or where they're happening are going to be different than what the mainstream media is telling you. Mainstream astrologers are, because they're relying on what's called tropical astrology, which fixes the signs to seasons. Hasn't been like that since almost over 1800 years. So I'm using astrology by the visible sky. I'm using the natural size of the constellations. If you actually look up in the sky, you will see that the constellations are all different sizes. Virgo is almost 50 degrees. Aries is less than 25. There are astrologers who will make them all the same size, each 30 degrees. Well, they're not that way in the sky. They're all over the place. And I'm using astrological midpoints. So some of my dates might be a little bit different for when signs change. The boundaries that are used by some astrologers is the IAU boundaries, which is used by astronomers, and they don't care about astrology, really. Very few of them do. And the boundaries seem to be a little arbitrary. Athens Shimenti came up with an astrological midpoint system that looks at the zodiac belt, where the last bright star is of constellation A, the first bright star of constellation B, where's the middle, and goes with that. So I use the midpoints. I find out it's a little bit more accurate. I use 13 signs. Way back in the day, there used to be 13 signs. There used to be 13 months, because the word month comes from the word moon. And where the new moon fell, that was the name of the month, sort of ish. But it's the 13th sign is a fucus. It's the symbol of the wounded healer. It's a symbol of a man holding a snake by the head and tail. That snake symbolizes knowledge. Having it by the head and the tail means control or use of knowledge. And to heal yourself so you can heal others with similar wounds similar to yours. So there's that. And the keys that I'm giving you are the weekly transits. This is how you can have a successful week. These are universal lessons for everyone. We're all facing these. So do keep that in mind throughout the week. I read this as evolutionary astrology, which says these are lessons to be learned. And there are some astrologers who read very fatalistically. This is going to happen. And if you look at them as teachers and lessons, I actually read that in a Vedic astrology book where a child was born. They parents go to the astrologer and say, here's our child's information. Tell us, who did this person come here to be? What? Yeah. And so it's your chart as a map of the lessons you came here to learn. I find that's much more powerful, much more effective. And the dates and timing are based on the Eastern U.S. time zone, whichever one we happen to be in. I'm not sure if it's daylight savings or what. I don't know why they changed the clocks. I find it annoying. That light is a little bit better. So master that. So this is based on the Eastern time zone. You have to adjust them for your own. And the weekly transit report, this is how you have a successful week. And heads up, this is going to be a very busy week. The moon is actually our calm spot, with moon moving Aries through Cancer. Taurus is a fairly large sign. Gemini is the largest of the small signs. Gemini is also a large small sign. So we're only really getting through 4 signs this week. It's very stable, which is good. We do have a new moon at the end of the week in Gemini. When I actually typed that up, I typed in new mood, which when you think about the moon, actually makes set. The parkour kitten decided to jump halfway across my kitchen. I love it when he does that. He makes no sense. So it's the mood. So it's your emotional mood. We'll have a new mood in Gemini, being curious. Sign change. Mercury is entering Cancer, learning to take care of yourself, nurture yourself. Active this week. The really two big players are Mercury and Venus. Those two are going to be incredibly active. So it's learning, communication, and relationships will be the two strong planets this week. The Sun and Mars, the Sun's in a T-square to the nodes, which will be very challenging. That happens early in the week. So that's why I don't have it. That's why I have it in there. Mars does make an aspect, and to Saturn. So I've got it in the parentheses. It's going to be important, but it's not like Mercury and Venus are like the two big players this week. And in the outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Chiron, they're all being hit and are being transited in one way, shape, or another, and the nodes of the moon as well. In fact, we begin with the week with the nodes of the moon, and we end the week with the nodes of the moon. So the nodes are a bookmark for this week. Retrograde. We're in retrograde season, people. Saturn is retrograde. Neptune is moving retrograde this week. And Pluto is also retrograde. So this is going to be a time of reflection. Saturn is on your maturity and your self-growth. Neptune is your spirituality and your ability to just be. And Pluto is your transformation. And this is your kitten commercial. You can see part of the Parkour Kitten's coat there. This is what he looks like. He really is a nice kitten. He wants to be. It's just, he's a kitten. He just hasn't learned when to. So we're going to have the Parkour Kitten helping us out this week in the video. Don't be sniffing my ear. So this is our overview of the week. We really have 3 clusters of energy this week. Let me get the pen up so I can draw them for you. Okay, cluster number 1 is happening here Monday, Tuesday, and into Wednesday. That's cluster 1. So an intense beginning to the week. Cluster number 2 happens here on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then we have a third one that starts on Sunday. So it's 3 clusters of energy, the most intense being that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. So expect the beginning of the week to be very power-packed. Thursday and Friday, we do have a few transits happening, but we also have the new moon in there as well. So that'll make it that way. And then Sunday, it picks up again. And let me clear that out because I don't want to see that in every slide. Okay, and let us begin. Move this down here so it's out of the way. On Sunday, we do have the moon entering Aries. And like I said, the moon is the mood, so to speak. So it's learning courage. Should have had this up. It was up, it just popped out. So the moon is learning courage and assertiveness. You might feel a little bold here. So a little courage, learning courage, learning assertiveness, learning a little boldness. Here we go. And expect opportunities to stand up for yourself, to be assertive, to speak up for yourself as needed. Time to let go of your fears, face them, know that they can be overcome. Competitions or challenges may be arrived. They're here to strengthen you. Anytime you run into a challenge of any sort, see it as a way of strengthening yourself. So it's a time for you to learning how to stand up for yourself. And Mars, the moon will transit over Mars, giving you an extra boost. I believe that's going to happen on Monday. Be careful. There's a high road and a low road to each aspect, and each transit. So the moon can be very moody, and in Aries, the shadow is fear and falling into fear. And it can come out as anger, so explosive anger, and I do mean explosive, or total cowardice. and falling into like being a doormat for everybody. So be careful falling into fear, hiding away, or falling into anger and rage, taking your temper out on innocent targets. My old joke, and it's not really a joke, but when the bullied becomes the bully, there are big problems. But there's the moon entering Aries. And also, this is late Sunday night Eastern time. This will cascade time zone wise. But Mercury, the planet of learning and communication, moves into Cancer, the sign of learning, nurturing, and self-care. And this will be learning. The lesson here to learn is learning to take care of yourself and how to take care of yourself. Um, also be a little bit about rest and relaxation as well, because that's one of the ways you can take yourself. Are you calming down and withdrawing from the world a little bit? Cancer, the crab has that shell. Are you taking time to retreat and pull away? Can be good. So it's time to learn to how to take care of, nurture yourself, learn to become more aware and sensitive to your own needs. The old saying is, yeah, before you can take care of anybody else, you have to take care of yourself. An example of this from real life is in an airplane and with the steward and my friends who are stewards and stewardesses. They hit turbulences and those masks come down. The first thing they say to do is put on your mask, make sure it's working, and then you can help the people around you. That person that's so concerned about everybody else doesn't put on their own mask is going to be the one needing the medical help and getting and what have you. So make sure you're taking care of yourself. Remember to put your needs first. Be aware of rationalizations used to avoid. Mercury will rationalize things. So be careful of that. Pay attention to that. And remember what rationalize sounds like. Rational lies. It's a lie that makes sense, but it's really not true. Be aware of rational lies used to avoid taking care of you. And learning self compassion and forgiveness can be healing. The hardest person in the world to heal, to forgive, is yourself. So it's learning self forgiveness as well. Shadow of Mercury is not being willing to learn, thinking you know it all, can't learn. Cancer can fall into being invisible. You've got that tough shell. It can be being overprotective, not of yourself, of other people. And with those pinchers, the bully can become the bully in a way. Be careful of letting self-care fall away behind other obligations. Possible to hurt yourself or others with words and not realize it. Planet Moon, words can hurt, and that's one of the lessons we all need to learn. Also, beware of the reverse golden rule: treating others as you treat yourself. Like I say, the person we're hardest on ourselves is ourselves, and if you start treating others like the way you treat yourself, you might not have very many friends left. Learned that the hard way. All right, let's get into this Monday routine. This is where things get very interesting. The sun is going to be in what we call a T-square to both the south node and the north node. It first aspects the north node, so it's learning. This is a waxing, so this is building confidence and learning how to live and let go. The sun in Gemini, learning. The north node is an intention. It's an evolutionary intention. In Pisces, how to see things from a higher perspective, how to see things from learn and live and let go and just be in the moment. And it's the challenge. Squares are challenges. And you can think of them as something that's designed to strengthen you and serve as a stepping stone. Say this till I'm blue in the face. You look at the pyramids, everybody thinks they're so strong because they're shaped in a triangle. When you get up close and you can see them, they're actually built on squares. And it's that tension created by the square that creates the strength. So the challenge here of learning to let go can strengthen you. Let's see, learn to be present in the moment, pay attention to what's happening now. That can help you. Paying attention to what's happening to you right now can help strengthen you. This shadow is falling into fantasy, thinking that you know everything all, and falling into that fantasy of thinking that you know it all. And that tension slips and grinds everything into dust. That pressure is either going to create diamonds or dust. And the shadow is not a diamond, it's dust. It's things getting crushed and dreams falling away, so to speak. So it's possible to get lost in fantasy thinking you know it all, or you can't learn it all and just watching everything fall away and blow away into dust. And it's in a square to the south node. And this is a waning square, which means the challenge is to release. Release what? South node in Virgo, perfectionism and holding yourself to unrealistic expectations. So when you learn, when you can see yourself doing that and you learn it and you realize and you say, hey, this is unrealistic expectation. What is realistic? What can I really do with the knowledge, skills, talents, and abilities I have right now and do that? Boom. That's great. What makes it, like I said, this is the T square is because, and I drew this in yellow, hopefully you can see it, is you have the north node and south node in an opposition to each other, and that can serve a purpose. The south node can ground the north node, saying, hey, let's be realistic here. And the north node can help the south node see things from a different perspective. And with the challenge to the sun is learning something new. How can you learn to do things to the best? How can you learn to see things from a different perspective and do things to the best of your ability? That's the big challenge here. You learn that. That's great, and that can strengthen you. The shadow of that is being a control freak and falling into unrealistic expectations and just thinking you're not going to be good enough and falling into some fantasy, or thinking that you know what, you can be a perfectionist and things will work out great, and they blow up into a disaster. And also on Monday, Neptune moves station retrograde. What that means, it's a fancy way of saying it looks like it's going to be standing still in the sky before it starts moving backwards. It really isn't. It's just from the Earth, that way we're moving, the way Neptune is moving, because we move very fast and Neptune moves very slow. It looks like Neptune's going to be moving backwards in the sky. It's not. It's just a time of reflection. So the Neptune, if you have clear skies and you can actually see it with a telescope, it'll look like it's standing still. It's not. So this is an opportunity for you to do evaluation and reflect on your spiritual growth. And Neptune in Pisces is about being present. Don't just do something, sit there. Being present, doing your spiritual practices, and being in the moment. You know, we'll live in the future, we'll live in the past, and Neptune is teaching you to be here now. As an aside, that's a pretty interesting book to read. I really should reread it. Okay, back to here. So this is the opportunity for spiritual growth is before you reflect on where and how you stand in your own way of letting it happen, and learn to just be and experience life as it happens. So this is an opportunity for you to reflect on, are you living in the present moment? Yeah, it's okay to plan for the future. Yes, it's okay to reflect on the past, but the key thing is to be here now. The shadow is be careful of numbing yourself or trying to escape what is happening around you. Falling into a fantasy is a failure. Also, be careful of rejecting spirituality altogether. There are people who say, you know, this is a physical world, etc., materialism, all that spiritual stuff doesn't happen. That's another shadow that came to me during reflection. It's like, yeah, there are people that totally reject the spiritual. Explain your thoughts. So that does happen. And let's see here. And Mercury in Cancer is in a trine to Neptune in Pisces. So Mercury in Cancer and Mercury in a trine. This is a building trine. So this is what you with a trine is what you put in, you get out easy. So if you're putting in the time and the effort, you'll get a big return fast, or potentially a big return fast. But if you don't put in the effort and you don't do anything, you get nothing back, or you put in doing the wrong thing, it blows up in your face even worse. So Mercury, and let's remember, Mercury and to Neptune is about learning your spirituality, learning new things. Mercury and Neptune is learning to be nurturing yourself with your spirituality. Is your spirituality nurturing you and helping you take care of yourself? If not, what can you learn to change it and to help you nurture yourself and take care of yourself better? So reflect on how you're learning spiritually and how you're nurturing it, and are you receiving spiritual guidance? Are you paying attention to yourself and to the needs of other people as well? First and foremost, to yourself. The shadow is you can get caught up in a fantasy and think you're something that you're not, thinking you take care of yourself, but you're not really. Or equating studying and knowledge is the equivalent of practice. The world is replete of is full of people who know how to do mathematics and can't balance a checkbook or a savings account. So thinking knowledge is equal to practice is deceptive. It's the key here is to put that knowledge into practice. Also on Monday, actually this happens way early on Monday. I thought I saved this. Is that the no, actually no, this happens on early Tuesday. I'm sorry. Early on Tuesday, I have it in the wrong order on my website. I'll fix it. The moon, your mood, enters Taurus. It is looking for peace and stability right now. Taking time to calm down and get centered. And with the July 4th holiday coming up, getting calmed down and centered could be a good thing. Release what brings you tension and look for opportunities to find peace and stability. This is Taurus is the largest of the small signs. So the question here is, are you taking time every day to chill out and find peace and stability in your life? And that's what you're here to learn. Be careful of becoming stubborn or falling into ritual and trying to force things to happen. And Taurus can also be incredibly lazy, so just going and not doing anything at all. Or it can be the proverbial bull in the china shop and being quite explosive. This is actually out of order. This Moon and Taurus is actually on my website. It's out of order. I've got to fix that. No. Need more coffee. Oops. There we go. Yeah, I woke up with another bad headache and it didn't lift until 4:30. I have no idea what was going on with that. That one really hurt. So we have Venus in Gemini is in a trine. And again, remember that means things are easy. Little in, lot comes back. It's like putting the quarter into a slot machine and winning $100 or more. Into Saturn retrograde in Aquarius. And Saturn, Venus trying to Saturn is maturing in your relationships. Venus in Gemini is learning about relationships and learning how to be authentic in your relationship. Saturn in Aquarius is learning to be authentic. But with this retrograde, this reflection is, are you being authentic in your relationship? So this is a time for you to sit back and learn to see how you're being authentic in relationships, in what way, and if not, how can you change so you are being real? You talk to everybody else about how they need to change. The key is for you to learn to change. And where is that? Boy, did my website get messed up. Oh, well, I'll fix this up. So, and also, Saturn can sometimes require you to be alone. So it's learning to be alone sometimes. We always think with relationships that we have to be around people all the time. Sometimes you need to be separate from people. So it's learning when to be with people and when to be away from people. So there's that. So learn to be okay alone. And all right, are you with that? And how are you loyal to people, and how are you loyal to yourself and being authentic to yourself? How are you loyal to other people as well? And how are you loyal to your friends and associates? Look at that. And I think the big thing here is the authenticity and learning. Are you learning to be authentic? Are you learning who you truly are? I think that is the key here. Are you being real? And let's see. And Mercury is in opposition to Pluto. This is the final, I believe. Yes, this is the final of the beginning cluster of energy. So Mercury an opposition is a reflection, and it can be a balance as well. So Mercury to Pluto is reflecting on your transformation. Mercury in Cancer is learning to take care of yourself. Pluto in Capricorn is doing the work of transformation. But remember, Pluto is retrograde, so it's a reflection. Are you transforming? So the question is, are you learning this new information and using it to nurture and take care of yourself? And are you implementing it into your life? Pluto is a wonderful planet to work with when you learn how to work with Pluto. He's a very good guy, and he really has the best interests for you. And his big question is, how are you transforming and changing? And you understand Pluto's the slowest mover. Transformation takes time. And I think that's a strong lesson of Pluto's, learning that transformation takes time. So learning the self-nurturing and knowing that this is going to take time to learn what's your long haul plan for implementing these changes. I think that's very important. Also, Mercury is about communication, etc. So, how are you communicating with others, and how are you communicating nurturing to yourself and to others? And also, difficult truths, the difficult truth of transformation. Are you paying attention to them? How are you learning to do the work of deep transformation as well? Are you paying attention when hidden truths emerge? This is for yourself. Look to teachers and lessons from the past. How would they serve you now? I think that reflection in the past and like some of the lessons that you've learned right now can come back to help you. Be careful of crafting lies using words as weapons, especially in your self-talk. Listen to how you're speaking to yourself, and I think this is important here. Listen to how you talk to yourself and what you're saying to yourself. Is it healing? Is it nurturing? Or is it causing deeper wounds? Is it helping you to grow? Is it holding you back? Pay attention to your self-talk here. Very important and powerful. And Wednesday, this is our kind of break point. All those transits from Monday and Tuesday are finishing out on Wednesday, so make sure the work gets done. This is when they're exact, actually. All my transits, when I'm doing them, this is when they're within 1 degree, so that's when they're most intense. So do remember on Wednesday, take a breath. If you happen to see some early fireworks, enjoy them. And we begin cluster number 2. Not as intense as the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday cluster, but still important. Mars in Aries is in a sextile to Saturn in Aquarius. Mars and Saturn, the old school astrologers, these are the lesser and the greater malefic, expect bad stuff. In evolutionary astrology, Mars is learning courage and assertiveness, and Saturn is about maturing and growth. And this is the courage for you to mature in being your authentic self. With Saturn in retrograde, are you maturing? Are you being your authentic self? And it's having the courage to ask that question, and where needed, make the changes. So having the courage to reflect on who you are as an authentic individual and continue to do the inner work. Also, check and define and redefine as needed your own values. What is important to you? Are you being authentic? Expect to be challenged in different ways. It's not necessarily a square, it's a sextile. It's an excitement and interest. And anytime people hear you talking about these things, they're always going to push back and be open to that. Expect it. Saturn is maturity. If you do the work, Saturn rewards you greatly. Be aware of that. Be careful of falling into dark moods, especially with Mars in Aries. Mars in Aries, the shadow is fear, and then Saturn is just giving up. So falling into fear and just giving up and quitting. Or falling into fear and becoming wild. In Saturn in Aquarius, you can become wildly eccentric. I'm thinking of those people, there are people that you know and I know that do things to push people's buttons and get a reaction. That's the shadow of this transit. And people falling into that fear and doing things to push buttons and get a reaction, or falling into conformity and selling out. That's the other shadow. So being careful, falling into dark moods, depression, anger, various forms of negativity and pessimism, or focusing only on the problems of life. Also, falling into these, doing things just to try to get a reaction. Reflection. Are you doing that? Are you pushing people's buttons just to get a reaction out of them? That's the shadow. Or have you sold yourself out and are trying to fit in like a square peg in a round hole? Not going to fit perfectly. That's the question here. And on Thursday, the moon, your mood, enters Gemini. Curiosity. You're ready for new information and new ideas. And You know that, so look for information that helps you emotionally right now, that can make you happy and feel good. And the right information coming across the right information the right way can, even though it's like sometimes a hard, bitter pill to swallow, can be good for you. Learn that. Look for information that helps you let go of old and outdated ideas that no longer serve you. We're approaching the new moon, so this is the tail end of the sun and the moon getting together. So this is releasing old ideas that no longer serve you and grabbing onto the new ones. Expect mental energy to be higher and pay attention to the omens that happen. Omens happen, they're happening for a reason. Pay attention, they're giving you information that can be helpful. And also, happy 4th of July for everybody that celebrates it. Friday, Venus again. Venus in, and this one's not retrograde, surprise. Venus in Gemini is in a square to Chiron in Pisces. Venus squaring Chiron is the challenge of healing relationships. That's what this is. This is the first challenge of healing relationships. And know that if you do the work, it can strengthen the relationship. Don't do the work, the relationship can fall to pieces, blow away like dust in the wind. That's a really strange song by Kansas. I never quite understood it. But Venus in Gemini is learning about relationship, and Chiron in Pisces, Chiron is healing and learning to let things go. Maybe let the wounds go. Maybe somebody stepped on your toes. Challenge of forgiveness. That's just an example. Maybe the challenge of letting a relationship that needs to end and letting it be released. That's fine. Relationships are like seasons. They come and go. And people are in your life for a short period of time. This may be a time, the challenge of letting a relationship go, that's fine too. Knowing that and facing that challenge and accepting it can be hard, but it's a good thing. And maybe they come back later on and, hey, wow, that was cool. It was a good thing that happened. I needed to be alone, and wow, great. But it's also, learning to see relationships from a higher perspective and a different perspective as well. Let's see what I have here. Face the challenges of healing relationships. Sometimes the best way to learn is just be with the person. I think that's so important. We're always talking or whatever. Sometimes I have a friend, we get together, we just like to be together in quiet, peace and quiet. And we will say very little, but just being together is and saying very little and just, is a wonderful thing. So just being with the person can be important. Be open to inspirational stories of healing. It can be helpful. Know that healing relationships can be a challenge, and sometimes letting a person be in their own pace alone can be good. Sometimes you need to be alone in order to heal. Shadow. Gemini can be a know-it-all, and Venus can be slick and manipulative and trying to make the other person, you made the mistake, and trying to blame it on the other person and make them think that they're the cause of the problem. That's an example of a bad thing here happening. So this can be, and Chiron in Pisces, Chiron is living the wound and becoming the wound and making the wound even worse, refusing to heal at all, living into a fantasy and falling into a fantasy, anything to escape the pain. Oh yeah, of course it was my fault. I don't want this whatever. Bomb. That type of crap. So be careful thinking you know it all or saying the wrong thing that can lead to deeper wounding, or saying the right thing the wrong way or at the wrong time is also damaging. Be aware of that. Also be careful of not listening to others, hurting them in that way, and being slick and manipulative, trying to manipulate others, or how are others manipulating you? Pay attention for that. And I checked up on this. This happens in Eastern time zone near sunset. So yay. The new moon in Gemini. So the new mood of Gemini, the moon and the sun are conjunct, and it's a spotlight on learning new information and new ideas. And this will be our new lunar month of Gemini, and we'll call it, why not? And so this is focusing on learning information that helps you heal emotionally, and healing emotionally helps to heal the ego. And you came here to have a healthy ego. Look at your sun sign. There's a skilled and unskilled expression. You came to learn the skilled expression and be skilled in that. Make the skilled. And so this is learning new information that can help you in that way. And learning information that can help heal your emotional self, helps heal the ego self and your personality. If you don't like the word ego, use the word personality. Okay. uh Focus on healing your image and your intelligence and abilities to learn and communicate. Spend time learning how you learn and communicate with yourself and others. This can be done. This can be done alone sometimes. um I love how my cats push things off the counter when they're in a bad mood, or they think it's a toy to play with, or they need more room. So we don't all learn the same way. There's something called learning styles indicator. Myers-Briggs is one of them. There's many different learning styles. This could be a time for you to learn how you learn. Take one of those tests, take a couple of them. They all show different things. Time to learn how you learn so that you can learn best. Apply it, use it. It's a good thing. Shadow. Sun can be very egotistical. Gemini can be a know-it-all or can't learn it all. And the moon can be in a bad mood. Um, so yeah, so pretending you know it all or can't learn it all can have you falling into a mental routine that leads you nowhere fast and feeling exhausted and tired. So there we go. On Saturday, the moon enters Cancer. And the moon, again, the mood, you're in the mood too for some self-care and some nurturing. And the moon will cross over Mercury. So again, learning about that and learning more about that. So this is learning how to take care of yourself emotionally, learning to be gentle with yourself and accept healing when needed. Information on how to heal and nurture yourself can be found when you look for it. Pay attention. Be careful of, when this is the shadow, be careful of whining or becoming defensive. Also being invisible. Again, remember, Cancer is that crab. So pulling into the shell and not wanting to be seen at all. Yeah, there is a healthy time to pull away in the shell and rest, but then the crab comes out and gets up, walks around and feeds and takes care of itself. But pulling in and just not getting out and just hiding is unhealthy. And also remember, the crabs have those pinchers, and using those as weapons to hurt people who may be here trying to help you. Bad thing. So be careful of that. So that's the end of cluster number 2. The moon in Cancer is kind of bridge into cluster number 3. So Venus in Gemini in sextile to Uranus in Taurus, or Uranus, however you want to pronounce it. So yeah, Venus, sextile, excited to be working with Uranus, learning to be an individual. And so Venus in Gemini, learning about relationships, learning about how learning about how you communicate, learning about yourself in relationships, and learning to be your authentic self in relationships, and finding peace and stability in that, knowing that when you are your authentic self in relationships, they're stronger and more natural. And you'll find that being authentic is more natural and actually a lot easier. And it can be more interesting as well. So it's learning to be at peace with your authentic self and others in their own zones. Let them be there. Also in relationships to others, remember that your real friends accept you as you really are, and you accept them that way as well. We're all different, and that's what kind of, there's, how many different colors are there in the spectrum? It takes a lot, and it's always a good thing. That's what makes this world so colorful. The shadow can be someone who is slick and manipulative and trying to turn people into who they are not. You want to be my friend? You have to listen to this type of music. I don't like that. Whatever you do, this has been an earworm in my head. It's a little clip on YouTube, TikTok, all sorts of places. I've accidentally run into it. It's Britney Spears' Hit Me One More Time song, whatever it is, being sung by Ozzy Osbourne. There's a guy who does it. Warning, earworm. Don't listen. It's bad. Actually, the guy does a great Ozzy impersonation, but it's being slick and manipulative and trying to control other people, or trying to become who you think people want you to be in a relationship and being a phony. And be careful thinking that acting out or selling out to fit in will accomplish anything, or not paying attention to others at all will accomplish anything, and ignoring them. This is a way you ruin relationships. And also, Mercury in Cancer is sextile to Jupiter in Taurus. And again, Mercury sextile is an excitement, and Jupiter is opportunity. So it's excited opportunity to learn what taking care of yourself is an excitement, and learning how to take care of yourself. And the opportunity is to build greater stability and peace in your life. And strength. You think about a bull. Bulls aren't pushovers. They're very strong animals. So the lesson here is learning to take care of yourself can give you the opportunity to find strength and stability in your life. Yeah. And also learning to express what you really know and what you want in a nurturing way. That's another opportunity. Paying attention to what disturbs you or bothers you as well, so you know to avoid it. It can be a sign where healing is needed. Know that by taking care of yourself can lead to greater opportunities for peace and stability in your life. The shadow, being a know-it-all or not willing to learn to take care of yourself. And Jupiter can be overconfident. I know how to do this. Or underconfident. I can't learn this. Taurus can be just lazy, honestly. Or it can be that proverbial bull in the china shop. I'm going to use lazy here. I think it fits better. Actually, the bull in the china shop just came to me. I'll talk about that. But, thinking that you can't learn how to take care of yourself and it's too hard, so you don't do it all, or thinking that you know how to take care of yourself, somebody gives you some advice and you lash out. Bull in the china shop. Bad thing. So be careful not expressing yourself or expressing and snippy know-it-all comments, or falling into arguments that could turn explosive. There's your bull in the china shop. And the last one. This is a busy week this week. This begins late Sunday night in the Eastern time zone, and this is going to carry on for a few weeks. Jupiter in Taurus in a trine to the South Node in Virgo. So Jupiter in Taurus, opportunities to find peace and stability in your life. The South Node in Pisces is how holding yourself to perfectionist and unrealistic expectations holds you back from achievement. And what this trine is showing you is how perfectionism is holding you back from finding peace and stability. And that trine says if you're aware of it and you make the changes, then you'll find that greater peace and stability. And anytime a planet's in a trine to one of the nodes, it's in a sextile to the other. This actually begins more on Monday, but this is that first part of the lesson. So, and this is about releasing, because it's in the waning trine. So this is about releasing those unrealistic expectations that are keeping you away from finding peace and stability in your life. So be open opportunities, like perfectionism, and know what your abilities are and be okay with them. This is where I know them. This is what I know how to do, and I can do it good enough for now. And the more you practice gets you practice doesn't make perfect. Practice gets you being better. So knowing that you're never going to get to perfection, probably not, but every time I practice, I get better. So it's being aware of that. Because Virgo wants things perfect. And Virgo can be, I coulda, woulda, shoulda. And that's where you hold yourself back, falling into that bitterness and that perfectionism and coulda, woulda, shoulda. Hindsight being 2020, and sometimes it's not, because there are people who don't even bother looking. But falling into that perfectionist rut and trying to force things to happen the way you want them to will lead to crash and burn and feeling overwhelmed and not just want and just Taurus, lazy, just not going to even try. Why bother? Or Taurus, the bull, and getting angry and becoming that bull in the china shop. So there we go. Sorry that that took so long, but it's a lot of stuff happening. And I think understanding it in those three clusters makes things work well. Do have a special event coming up in August. I'll be working with my friend Dr. Danny. I will be teaching a course on reading the nodes of the moon in the birth chart. It's going to be 3 recorded sessions. My goal is 3 recorded sessions and 1 live session where you get to get asked, where there'll be at the end where there's a Q&A session. So you get watch session 1, watch session 2, watch session 3, and then a Q&A at the end where we'll be all on Zoom or whatever together, and you'll be able to post messages. Danny will ask them, and I'll answer. My friend Danny does specialize in Venus. She's actually a doula who uses astrology, so she does a lot of reading astrology for newborn babies and kind of informing the parents of their child's life and how to help them. More information soon as I'm developing the course and getting things worked out. But it's looking like 3 recorded sessions and a live, and that live session will be recorded. And if you buy the course, you'll have it for lifetime off Dr. Danny's site. Follow me on social media: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I'm on all of those. I'm also on the Digital Soul Space, which is now free, and they're just asking donations, and it's really starting to grow. All of these are free. You're paying for it with your data. They're making billions, and unless you fall into certain rubrics or certain parameters, you don't make anything off of it, and what you do make isn't really that much compared to the profits they're making. Digital Soul Space is 100% privacy oriented in a troll-free zone. And site reminder, let me go here and here and continually working on this site. This is the homepage where you can scroll through and schedule readings. There's a quick 6. You want to see how your chart changes quickly, just 6 key points, schedule the quick 6. It's a reading and a 15-minute follow-up. Your first set of keys help you understand your birth chart, past life, or a karmic reading. Bind them into one. Second set of keys is the horoscopes, and this is the life cycle, which I'm looking at the outer planets in relationship to themselves. A yearly horoscope, what are the big lessons that happen over the year? Breaking it down into a 3-month block, and then monthly, where I like to go new moon to new moon, so you understand the lessons of the lunar cycle. I do have a few people that want it first of the month to the end of the month. I'll read it that way too, but I think it's more powerful in that lunar. And I do have packages. I do have these 3 packages. You buy a package, there's a 10, including the big pick or the quick pick. Yeah, there's the quick pick and the big pick. All 4 of my packages have a 10% discount built right in. If you click on subscribe, that's how you get my weekly newsletter. It comes out once a week. Summary of the major astrological events for the week. Astrological insight, exclusive subscriber-only discounts and offers, information on live appearances and events, which are not coming up in my Facebook page thing for some reason. I have to work with someone on that. You want to schedule services, schedule it through the services. What you will get first is a reading. I like to do the reading uninterrupted, so you will get a recording of the reading. And then say you order the birth chart, you will get me reading you your full birth chart. You'll get a video, watch it at least twice, take your notes, and then when we get together, you'll be able to schedule a free 1-hour follow-up where you get to ask me questions and get to understand what you want to know more about. Because what happens is somebody will order a reading and want me to read it live, and we never get through it in time. And sometimes I've had to cut readings short, which to me is stealing from you. You're not getting the information that you truly need. And I feel like I'm rushing and not doing as good enough job. So I like to do the recording with the 1 hour, with the hour to whatever follow-up. So you get to watch the reading and then come back with questions and gain that deeper knowledge and deeper understanding for yourself. And what's this? And I do have a blog. You really should come up with a better name for that. And this is where I do post the weekly transits in greater detail. And I do a daily, what I call in my daily deep dive, where I take one transit and dive deeper in. Let's go back here, current slide. So follow, yeah, thank you very much for watching this. I know this one's a little bit longer, but follow, share, sign up for the newsletter. Remember, visible sky life changes. Thank you very much. Have yourself a good week. And for everyone that celebrates it, happy 4th of July.